Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Angel Face Magic Hour. Today, I'm really excited. We have another guest on, and we're going to be speaking with Kasey Boone from Glow Skincare. And I'm just going to have you introduce yourself to the audience. Just share a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do.
Okay. I'm like, that's always like a
It's a
four-letter
loaded question.
I'm Kasey Boone. I am a California licensed esthetician going on 16 years. I'm a business owner. I'm a product creator. I guess you could call me a influencer, podcaster, blogger.
Yeah,
The
I
list
was
goes,
like
the list
content creator. I don't know what the word is for it.
Yeah, content creator is better than influencer. I don't really like the word influencer. Content creator queen.
Yeah. I feel like you put out educational content and you
Yes.
also share stuff about your life. And that's kind of
Yeah.
cool combination of things.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I own Glow Skincare, which was a spa and has transferred into e-commerce business. And like you said, I'm a content creator where I'm helping other estheticians. That's kind of like my main goals. I'm an esthetician. I've been in this business a long time and I want to support other estheticians and the esthetician community specifically. Like, I feel like it's my duty to like now serve them and help them and guide them. And so doing that, I'm creating content for them. I'm sharing tips and tricks and creating products for them, just making their life hopefully a little bit better and easier.
Yes. You're the official creator of the cold roller TM.
Yes,
But
I've
yeah, you
created.
have products for people as well as more like blogs, like written content and things that people can check out on your website.
Yes, I have written content mostly targeted for estheticians. My podcast is for estheticians. I like to call it like the lifestyle of the esthetician because I'll talk health and wellness, I'll talk skincare, I'll talk business, all the above. I love it all.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. Like, so I am also an esthetician and I've been doing it. I got my license, I guess, 2017, so a little while now.
Yeah.
But I think it's very vital and important in this kind of industry for people to take care of themselves. Like, and what I see is like nightmarish. I'm like, you guys eat one peanut a day. Like, it's just so go, go, go. So
Yeah.
I think something I really admire about you and what you talk about on the podcast, like you educate about specific topics, but also
Yeah.
reminding people like we have to take care of our bodies. And if you're taking care of other people, whether it's, facials or whatever else, you really need to do extra. It's a full-time job to also take care of yourself.
It's hard to take care of yourself just in general. And then if you're any type of like service provider where you are serving other people, I feel like you need to like up the ante like 1,000%. Because once you start working with people on such like a personal, vulnerable level, there is like an energy exchange. And if you're eating one peanut a day, let me tell you, like you're not taking care of yourself. And more importantly, you're not taking care of your energy, which I've learned the hard way is so important to take care of your like physical and mental body and energy.
Yeah, and you were so young when you got into this industry too. I feel like that point in life, it's so much still like, oh, I'm gonna go out every day after work and like stay out all night. And I feel like growing in the industry, I feel like you see a lot of different phases, and I feel like people will burn out a lot. So I'm sure you've seen people who started and stopped and did something different. Like,
yeah, I've seen it.
I feel
I've
like it's
seen
all
it all.
changing all the time.
It is changing all the time. There's always people coming in and out. There's people that go hard for like a second and then they die off because they burned out. Like you said, I started at a very young age. I was 18 when I got into this industry. I'm now 34. So in some ways, I feel like a completely different person. I'm like, I was a child still. Like, I didn't know how to take care of myself. I was just like figuring things out. And like somehow I did, still figuring it out. And yeah, I've just seen so many ebbs and flows and had so many of my own burnouts that almost took me out.
What would be like if people are starting to feel like that right now? Like, what would be some advice for them?
I mean, slow down. I know that's like sounds simple and it sounds easier said than done, but slow down. If you can find even just the smallest ways to take something out of your schedule, to maybe not say yes to every opportunity or every time someone invites you out, even if it's a friend, even if it's a family. I mean, I've gotten to the point where it's like, you know what? Like, mom and dad or close friends, it's like I love you and I want to see you, but it's more important for me to like stay home today. um so simple things like that. And again, going back to your one peanut thing, if you're an esthetician or really just if you're just a human in general and you're not nourishing your body, those are some really like simple but so powerful to help you like recover from burnout, like drinking enough water, eating enough food, like properly, like giving yourself enough nutrients. Like those little things are like, at least for me, was like a huge like starting point and shift and like changing not only like my burnout and like my business, but my life.
I feel the same way. Like, and you talked about this on your podcast the other week, but I'll just like reiterate for people. You were talking about how like for you, you're so go, 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 go. That's hard to like slow down.
Yeah,
And I feel very much the same way. Like to sit and eat, like that sounds simple for most people, but like I think it's difficult
it
to
is
stop
what you're doing
what you're
and
doing
eat. Yeah.
and be like, okay, this creative idea I'm having is not as important as my fucking body right now.
Right, but sometimes it is. It's a hard balance. Like even today, like I made sure like I put my lunch like on the table because I knew I was gonna get distracted in the office by myself with like 5 million things. Because I feel like right now I have this like jolt of energy, but I was like, I have to eat, especially before I sit down and like do this podcast. So like my body and brain is fueled so I can give you like the energy that you deserve. And by the end of this podcast, that I don't feel so emotionally drained that I can't do anything else.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like at least for me, like the few places I've worked at are like very much spa.
Yeah.
So it's in and out, a million different people a day. And
Yes.
what I see like with some of my coworkers and stuff, I'm like,
I
please.
know it's
Especially the massage
horrifying.
people. I'm like,
I
you guys are doing
know.
full body massage.
Like it takes so much energy and it's like people will just like push through, push through, push through. And I'm like, how are you alive right now? But then I look back and I'm like, I was doing the same thing. And I think we get used to this like baseline of like kind of feeling shitty. And I just like with my podcast and with my platform, it's like I just want to encourage people that like it doesn't have to be that low of a baseline. Like you can raise your baseline and like feel better, and it will improve your entire life, your career, your relationships, your relationship with yourself. But it's all, again, it all sounds potentially like simple, or you're like, oh, maybe I'm already doing this, but it's a lot of work, and to kind of like reverse engineer like all these bad habits that we've gotten ourselves into.
Yeah. And I think it's like, I don't know if ironic's the word for it, but it's like the industry is wellness and healing.
I
And it's like
know. And we're not taking
not
care
like
of
we're not
ourselves.
taking care of ourselves. So how are we
No.
supposed to take care of all these other people?
It blows my mind. It blows my mind, right? We are supposed to be the health and wellness industry, and we are the last to take care of ourselves. Like we'll take care of 15 clients a day, eat our one peanut, not drink any water, and kill ourselves physically and mentally, and then like go home and do it all again tomorrow. And I just feel like there needs to be a change and a shift in this industry. Because what happens is people burn out and they don't last a long time. They're lasting like 2 years in this industry, and they get frustrated because it's hard. And, you know, sometimes people like blame everybody else, and well, clients this and I can't do that. And it's like, well, but like you didn't give yourself enough time, and again, like you didn't take care of yourself. Like you need time and longevity to grow in any type of job or career.
Especially where it's like one-on-one service, like
Yeah.
for an hour or more, like I mean, at least with facials, like you're
Yeah.
in a quiet, like you need to like for me, it's like about holding that space, and like there's a
For sure.
healing element to that. And if
Yes,
I'm not feeling good, like I can't do that.
for
And it's
sure.
exhausting.
It is. I mean, I used to like make myself sick because I would first take on other people's energy. And then there was a point in my career where I'm like, my business is not doing good, but like I wasn't doing good. And so if I'm giving off bad vibes because I'm not taking care of myself, people aren't going to want to come back. So it's just this like vicious cycle of like people like wanting to get into the industry, not taking care of themselves, overworking themselves, getting frustrated. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. And so there's just like always this like big like turnover of estheticians or massage or even like hair, um, where people just like don't last a long time. But I think there's just so much opportunity. And if you really have like a calling to become an esthetician, um, I'm like, think on that. Why did you get called to do this? There has to be a reason. And it makes me sad that so many people leave the industry because they kill themselves.
Yeah. And like I feel like for me, like originally I went to school because I was like, oh, I want to be a makeup artist. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna like move to LA or something and like be a makeup artist. And I was like, wait, I hate doing that. I hate doing other fucking people's makeup so much. Like it'd be fun to do it for like, I don't know, like my friend's wedding or something, but
For sure.
no. And then when I got into the skincare, that's when I started getting into energy healing and like
Yeah.
all this other stuff that I feel like it led me to the opportunity to get comfortable putting my hands on people, working
Yeah.
with people, like, and not being scared of
Mm.
like new people. Like I feel like
Hmm.
that was scary to me when I first started. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I do not, how am I gonna, what are we gonna talk about? I just felt awkward.
It
So I feel like it
can.
really there's a personality part to it too. Like it's not
Yes.
just performing a good service. Like you have to.
There's so many factors when it comes to like being an esthetician. It's not just performing a good facial. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's like but I think again, I think there's certain people that are called to this kind of job because of that. It's like I feel like what you're saying is like so relatable. Like I got into it because I'm like, oh, I want to do makeup. Same story, like very relatable. And then I'm like, wait, no, I don't want to do anybody's makeup. But then I'm like, there's something about, I'm like, I don't know why I wanted to like touch people, which sounds strange if you're not in this industry
Yeah.
or like you don't understand. And I don't think I even knew it on a deep level when I was that young, but it was just something about like putting my hands on people and like physically like taking care of them that I was drawn to. And now here I am still doing that. And now I feel like I've built this like whole community that like I also want to take care of. Like I can't put my hands on everybody, but how can I like help? Like that's just like my goal in life is to help make
Yeah. You have
people
very
feel better.
nurturing energy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of
Thanks.
course. Well, let's talk a little bit about your personal like rituals, routines. I
Yeah.
always think it's very interesting to hear about, but like for you, obviously things change every day. Like
Yeah.
but on an average day, like ideally, what would like your kind of like self-care
Like my perfect
look
day.
like? Yeah, your perfect ideal if nothing was wrong.
If nothing was wrong and everything went perfect, I don't like to wake up too early. I'm kind of like an 8 o'clock waker upper, 8:30. No touching of the phone at all. Ideally like my phone isn't even in my bedroom. I'm waking up, I'm making the bed, I'm doing my skincare, I'm brushing my teeth. Like things sound simple, but for me, like someone who I've diagnosed myself with ADHD. Like brushing my teeth was really a challenge for
I
a
got
really
I
long
got
time.
diagnosed last year
Oh,
with
you did?
ADHD,
Okay.
so
I'm
I
like, I
understand.
don't even need to go to the doctor. I just know.
Yeah, it's just a
And
knowing.
it's just a knowing. And so like brushing my teeth was a challenging thing. So I habit stack. So wash my face, brush my teeth, scrape my tongue, um, do my now I'm blanking on not oil cleansing, but I'm doing like a mouthwash basically with coconut
Oh, oil
oil.
pulling.
Oil pulling, thank you. And
Have you had good results with it?
yeah, yeah, I really have. Because I have pretty good teeth, but I like to keep my teeth like white, but I didn't I'm on this like journey of like removing as much chemicals as I can. So I didn't want to put a bunch of like white strips in my mouth anymore.
Yeah.
So the coconut oil pulling has been great after I scrape my tongue.
Hell yeah.
Um and then
I'm also an oil puller.
are you? You're an oil puller? I
I've
love it.
tried other ones. I've tried because sesame, I think, is more like traditional Ayurvedic,
Yes.
but it's such a strong taste that in the morning I'm like, that's too savory. Like I can't do
Right.
that.
I actually just bought one. I can't remember the brand, but it was like it's coconut and sesame. So it's not as like
Not as strong.
aggressive. Yeah, not as aggressive. And so while I'm oil pulling, start a kettle. I like lemon water, warm lemon water. Of course, I'm gonna pull out my cold roller from my freezer and cold roll my face while I'm drinking my lemon water. Something new that I just added into my routine. I've been on this like kind of like meditation breath work journey for a while. But I just started doing like my own meditation. For like a long time I was doing like a guided meditation. I was
Hmm.
using Insight Timer, and I just started doing my own meditation for probably the past like almost 2 months.
That's
And
exciting.
it is exciting. I'm like, okay, like it's time. Like, can I really sit here by myself, and like will this actually like help me and work? So I've been ideally on like a perfect day. For some reason, 7 minutes is just like the perfect number for me. 7 minutes of like a silent meditation. Again, it doesn't always happen because it's like the dog is barking at me to go for a walk, or
Yeah, you get
or
distracted.
yeah, but 7 minutes. And then from there, like I'm going straight to like movement. Like I want to go outside and walk. I want to be in the sunshine, or I want to like go take a yoga class. Because if I don't get up and moving because of my ADHD, I'll get like stuck. So I feel like I need to move my body before anything else happens. And it's funny because I've worked for myself now for 12 years. And for so long, I felt like even though I was quote unquote working for myself, I wasn't giving myself any freedom or
You're like,
flexibility.
let me get to work as soon as I get up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, let me book a 10 a.m. client, which means then I have to get there at 9:30, which is not my happy place at all. So now I'm like, it's Kasey time in the morning, and I'll get to work when I get to work. I mean, again, I'm lucky because I work for myself and I don't see a lot of clients anymore, and I just have so much like freedom, but I have to like also remind myself like I created that freedom for myself, which is like really cool.
And it took a lot of hard work to get there.
A lot. Like, but now that I'm here, I'm like, holy shit, like, how did I get here? Like, this is amazing. And now I feel like I'm just beginning. Like, now I'm like, I really have, I don't know, this like superpower that I'm like, oh, well, what else can I do if I can do all this, you know? But anyhow, back to my routine, yoga. And then if I really want to have like a full Kasey day, which to me is luxurious and might not sound luxurious to other people, is like I love to do an ice bath. And ideally I
I
dig
was
up.
seeing your videos on Instagram with the ice bath. I was like, that's
Have you
hardcore.
have you
I've
tried?
never done it. I've never
No.
done it, but I'd be intrigued.
I feel like you might like it. My husband started doing it about a year ago to kind of like reset his nervous system. And I'm
I heard
like,
it's really good for like anxiety, like emotional stuff.
yes. And I feel like my nervous system has been shot. Like the past couple years, it's just been like I have not been regulated at all. Like my nervous system is all over the place. And my husband kept being like, I think you would like it. I think you would like it. And I'm like, you're crazy. You're crazy. And he started doing it in winter. And this past summer in June, he somehow convinced me. I think it was because it was like 100 degrees
It
outside.
was
And I was like,
hot.
yeah. I'm like, fine. I'm like, we live in Southern California. So I'm like, it's hot outside, sure. And I'll do it after like heated yoga. So I'm already like hot. And I did the ice bath, and literally since that day, I have not stopped. Like
A full
I'm
body cold roll.
full body cold roll, which I mean, hello, doesn't that kind of make sense?
That makes sense to
You
me.
know, I
That's
mean,
interesting.
right? You know me, you've been following me. So it's like started with the cold roll on their face, and now I'm doing the full cold therapy.
Have you
So
ever done like walk-in,
Uh-huh.
the where you walk at the ice, what's it called?
Yeah, cryotherapy.
Cryotherapy.
So I've done cryotherapy. Sometimes I still go to cryotherapy, but I don't know. There's something about a
Like the
cold tub
water.
of ice, yes, is really the most invigorating and makes me feel the best.
How long do you stay in there?
I'm up to like 3 to 4 minutes, and I'm doing it about 3 times a week.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I love it. Like, it's kind of like a weird addiction.
So
It's
where do you,
challenging.
wait, I have a question though. Where do you get the ice?
Okay, so
You
my
have to like buy like bags of ice at the store.
yes, my husband like has
That's
this
what I
like
think about every time. I'm
yeah,
like,
you're like,
how much I have to get
girl,
all,
where are you getting
where am
this
I gonna
ice?
store the ice?
My husband's crazy. And so he literally bought like an extra freezer
Oh,
on
okay. That
Facebook
makes sense.
Marketplace. And then we have a Costco membership. And he's like, the ice is only like $2 at Costco. So he'll like stock up on ice at Costco,
So
put
you
it in
have
the
it for like the week.
yeah. It's turned into a whole thing. We have an ice maker, but the ice maker doesn't make enough.
Not
And
fast enough.
right. And I'd love to buy like one of those like really fancy like ice tubs that keeps it cold, but I don't have like an extra $10,000 for like an ice tub just
You'll
yet.
get there.
I will, I will.
That's
So
so
yeah, it's
interesting.
a whole process, but I really do love it. And it's been so beneficial for me.
The spa that I work at, we have like
A plunge.
bathhouse or whatever. So we have a
Okay.
sauna and we have cold plunge. But I
Yeah.
hardly ever go in there because I feel awkward being naked, like the clients.
Like you're like, hey, I just
And
gave
they're
you a facial.
closed. Sometimes when we're closed, like she'll let me go after hours, the boss, because I'm just like, oh, I feel like it's like a different dynamic.
Yeah, but I mean, you should do it because it's amazing. And I feel like I love to go do hot, cold. Like you could do the
Yeah.
cold plunge and then do the sauna. That's like amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. There next to us used to be this like Ayurvedic spa,
Mm.
but unfortunately they closed with
Oh, that's a bummer.
COVID and stuff. So we bought the bathhouse thing from them. So they
That's
have like
cool.
copper bathtubs and all this like really special stuff.
That sounds
So it's
amazing.
pretty interesting. But they give you like a whole Ayurvedic breakdown of like how long to stay in this and how long for depending on your doshas, your like energy
Right.
alignment, like you do better with hot or cold. So it's kind of interesting.
I love all that. I think that's really cool.
Do you know your astrology?
My astrology, like I'm an Aquarius.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an Aquarius.
Do you know your like rising
I'm
sign
a
and stuff?
Virgo rising, and I'm a wait, now I have to look because I should know this. I'm a Virgo rising and I'm a Pisces moon. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not an astrology expert. I'm a
No.
dabbler, but
I'm a dabbler too.
I've had a few people on the podcast to talk about it because it's very interesting to me, but like I'm more interested in myself. I'm like, oh, tell me about like my sign.
I'm the same way. I'm like, tell me more about me.
Thing.
Yeah, I do read and I listen to like a little daily like horoscope just like for fun. Like there's like a free one on Spotify. It's like a 3-minute that I listen in the car. I read like a little sanctuary app that's free. It's a little horoscope. Those I have in my morning routine as well.
Yeah.
Just like those fun little things. And that keeps me from like grabbing my phone first thing in the morning and going on Instagram or my email.
I've been getting into like audiobooks lately because I'm addicted to fucking TikTok.
Same.
So like, I mean, Instagram is not like, I feel like I'll get on there for business, but it's not as fun to scroll anymore.
No.
But TikTok, I'm like, ooh. So I've been trying to do audiobooks because it's still on my phone. It still gives me that feeling.
Okay.
But like I'm educating myself.
Right.
But I'll listen to like romance ones too.
Okay. I was gonna say, what are you listening to?
I've been listening to like really bad romance books. Like they're made for Audible. Like
wait, I kind of want to listen.
I'll send you some recs.
Send me some. Okay.
But they're like, for me, I think because I'm so much involved in like spiritual stuff and personal development, it's like I don't need to read like Eckhart Tolle. Like I already know, like it's boring to me. But I need stuff that's just fun and silly. Like so I'm like, oh, let me get into these. The last one I read was like about this girl who went to like her high school reunion with like this hot guy that she met at a bar.
Wait, I love this because sometimes you just need to turn your brain off, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
I have like all these like self-help like podcasts, but I'm like, I feel like I do this all day. I need something where it's just like I want to like turn my brain off. It's kind of like the same as like just like I don't know, bad like reality TV or
I'm
like
a
I was
Housewives
okay,
person.
your housewives. I was like obsessed with like Grey's Anatomy, but like, I'm all caught up on that.
Yeah.
So they're on their
Like 30
400,
years of
yeah, 400th
seasons.
season. But it's like I've been looking for things to like kind of turn my brain off, but still be somewhat stimulated. So
They're
send me
fun
some.
because like, well, Audible, I think it costs like $12 a month or
Yeah.
something. So it's like worth it to me because you
Yes.
get like certain credits, but then these books are like they're free.
Oh,
Like
that's amazing.
people just wrote them. Like they're not but like real
They're
books.
like, have fun.
But there's all sorts of crazy stuff on there. So it's kind of fun.
Okay,
But it's
send
a
me
good
some.
way for me, like, yeah, it's very much deep all the time that I'm like,
Yeah.
let me just like have some laughs.
You have to. It's all about balance in life, right? You can't be like self-caring the shit out of yourself and then you're like, I'm so tired. Like you have to have balance. Like you can't work as an esthetician all the time, then you burn out. Like you'll burn out if you're just doing the same thing all the time. I think diversity is so important. I mean, especially me coming from a super ADHD person, I need my hands in a million different things, but I feel like that's just how we are as like humans in general. Like we need diversity. um I think it helps us like with perspective, it helps us expand with creativity. I think it's so important, and to have
Yeah,
fun have
I think
fun.
it's really important.
Yeah,
And I feel like people um forget that a lot. If they're like on a
yeah,
healing kind of journey, they're like,
I
oh,
can't
okay,
do
like I
that.
can't drink and do this and whatever. Like I'm like, I'm not a big drinker just because
Right.
I don't really enjoy it, but I don't think there's anything wrong with like going to a bar, like having fun, like going to a concert. Like people
Yeah.
take all these things out of their lives because they're like, oh, this is how I become peaceful. But then you're
Yes.
like bored.
Totally. It's funny that you're saying that because I would say now, I heard this word the other day. I'm like, okay, I think this fits me. It's like a damp lifestyle when it comes to alcohol,
Mm.
where like I'm not completely dry. I'm not drinking, but I like to have like a really good glass of wine or like a margarita once in a while. And for a while I was like judging myself because I am on this like kind of like spiritual like healing journey, but like don't get it twisted. Like I like to dance, I like to party, I like to have a drink. So again, it's like finding balance and finding what works for you. Some people maybe they do want to be completely dry. Like my husband cut out alcohol all the way, but I'm like I like to have a drink still, you know? So I think it depends on what you like, it depends on what you want, but like don't limit yourself just because you told yourself a story that like it has to be this way to heal, you know? I'm like I can do an ice bath and I can also have a good glass of red wine, you know? You can do both.
Yeah, I think it's important like for us to have some things that are just for fun. Like it doesn't have to,
Yes.
everything doesn't, especially when like, I mean, it's kind of a side thing, but like
Yeah.
your work is you. It's
Mm,
so easy to just everything becomes like a part of the working that you're like, what am
yeah.
I doing just to like
Have fun.
just for me, just to be
Yeah.
have fun. Like I don't need to
Yeah.
post about this. I don't need to fucking
Right.
do anything about this. Like it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be a whole new project. I can just do this for fun. That's so hard for me.
Yes. It's hard for me too. And I feel like I've really kind of like stepped into that. I've like started like doing ceramics and like gardening, but I'm like, there's like that little piece in the back of my mind. It's like, well, I could start another business doing this. It's like, no, like, bitch, chill. Like, you're just doing the ceramics for fun. Like, there's no other purpose besides that. Like, it like feeds like your soul in a different way. And it's not to like post on
Oh, it's
Instagram,
so easy to be like, okay, well then what can I make for the spa? Like come up with all these
Of
ideas.
course, I'm
Yeah.
already like, oh, this vase is going to be cute in the spa, but you know, it is important to still have like some separation.
Yeah. What do you feel like having those boundaries with
Mm,
in your business? Because you share a lot on social media. You have
Yeah.
your podcast. Uh, Obviously, you have your relationships with your clients.
Right.
But like, how have you kind of learned to create more like just Kasey stuff? I don't know if you've gotten there yet, but I'm
I
like,
have you. So yeah, I have.
good.
It might not seem like it on social media. I think people look at me and they're like, wow, like she's just like on there all the time. But I have found this way to like somewhat separate myself. But I wish it was like something like cut and dry. Here's the deal. I love to like I love to take pictures and like video. So like I do that regardless if I'm like doing it for work or not, but I have started focusing like okay, like if I'm in like Kasey like home mode, I can still like take pictures and videos and like post them on my like personal Instagram, but there's like no pressure. And again, like creating those boundaries like first thing in the morning instead of grabbing my phone, I'm like grabbing the toothbrush. And that has really been a game changer, but it's taken me years to get to that point because when I first started to grow my business and my social media following, it was like 24/7. I'm posting. Everything is about work. Everything is about glow, go, go, go from the time I wake up to the time that I go to sleep. And I just got to this point where I was like, ugh, like this is crazy that I can't even wash my face without thinking about
Taking
like
a video.
taking,
Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, this is not healthy, you know? So, and people might still have the perception that I'm doing that, but I'm not. And like I make myself 100% a priority before I even get to my work. So sometimes that means I don't open my phone or my computer till 3 p.m., 5 p.m. Now sometimes I don't even open the computer or the phone. And I'm like, this can wait till tomorrow. But it took many years of like practice, like separating myself, um, getting myself out of bad relationships, getting myself, just like one thing, like I just had to like kind of like it's like an onion, just like peeling back like all these like bad habits like one by one. But let me tell you, it's like been many, many years of a journey and I feel like I'm just starting.
Yeah. For you, like with Glow, like do you have any like big goals like for long term, like
Yeah.
dream stuff?
Yeah.
Like what would you do? Would you want to do your own skincare line? Like
No.
what would you want to do if you could do
What I'm
anything?
doing, but on just a bigger, like on a bigger scale, which like we're working towards that. I mean, my main goal besides like serving the esthetician community, so like continuing to grow my blog, continuing to grow my podcast, like finding ways to help more and more estheticians, like and to count or like on the other side of that, it's like my glow towel that I created for estheticians. It's like the first towel like specifically created for estheticians to use on their clients. Like that's our flagship product. Like I want that to be in every single esthetician's hand. Like that's my end goal. Like that's the towel you use on people's face, like period. So like those are my goals. So just a bigger scale of like what I'm doing.
Do you want to do like expand the merch and stuff? Like I know you guys had t-shirts and like other things like that.
No, I mean, we
More
did
just focusing on like the core things.
the core things. We have like some new products in the work that like are complementary to everything else that we have. I like dabbled in apparel for a second. Like we made some cute t-shirts and some cute hats. Again, that was just like passion project on the side for fun. And that's the other cool thing about having this business is I've been able to do so many like fun artsy side projects just because like I can, and it kind of feeds my soul in that way while I feel like my glow towels are like keeping the machine running,
Yeah.
like that's what keeps us alive so I can do everything else. um but yeah, new products coming in 2023, yay, but they're complementary to everything else that we have. Like we have a very small amount of SKUs on the website. We have towels. We have 2 different color types of towels. We have a big cold roller, a mini cold roller. We have a fan brush, we have a headband, and we have a gua sha reflexology. So it's like very clean and simple, but I like that. And I want to keep that structure and just adding things one by one that I think are super valuable, again, to the community and that are actually going to help, and not just put something out there to sell it, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that doesn't work long term, and that's just, like, not who I am. I like stuff that's, like, clean, simple, straight to the point.
Well, and it's like quality, you know, like I have
Yeah.
my cold roller since you put them out. Like,
Do you have the white one with the, like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's a little
a
squeaky, but I'll forgive you.
a little drop of oil
I,
on each side.
I've done that. I've done that. No, but you know, like it's when you buy these things, and I'll use it in the treatment room, but like
Yeah,
it's like you don't need 35. Like if you're selling them to your clients,
right.
but like it's like you're making things that people can, you know, keep for them for a
They
long
can
time.
keep, you can use them, they last, they're diverse. All the products that we've created, not only can people use in the treatment room, but most of them they can retail to their clients. You like consumers can use them. They're kind of good for everybody.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit? I want to ask a little bit about your opinions about some skin
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So to me, like I'm very much in, I guess, like holistic esthetician kind of vibe. Like
Yeah.
I love the products, I love the peels, like that's fun. I love
Right.
extractions, but for me, it's really about like the body, everything coming
Mm.
together with like the
Mhm.
energy, the spirit, like it's all one. And like our skin is kind of like, yeah, our detox organ. So
Right.
everything that happens on the inside comes through the outside.
Yes.
So I just love to kind of know a little bit about like your opinion as far as like emotional stuff showing up in the
Oh man.
skin, like
Yeah.
kind of like maybe some of your personal experience or with clients.
I mean, on a personal level, like when I've been going through shit, which I have been recently, I feel like I almost like my skin and like myself, like can look like a different person. And I've seen that with so many people. And that doesn't necessarily even mean like, oh my gosh, like I'm going through this hard time and like my skin is like necessarily breaking out. It's just like if I'm not nourishing my body with food and water, if I'm not nourishing my soul, like it shows outwardly. And yeah, it can also affect like your digestion. It can affect having breakouts. It can affect like having like rashes. You can look more like sagging, dull. Like there's just so many factors when it comes to skin, and skincare is so complex. And I think lots of times we, the estheticians, even don't give the other factors in our lives like enough credit, like stress, diet, those all play such a key factor. And it's like people will be like, well, I'm like eating lettuce every day and drinking water, but I'm like, how are you emotionally? Because if you're not emotionally feeling stable, that
It doesn't
most
matter.
of the it doesn't matter. It'll come out in your skin. It'll show. That's why people like, you see certain people and they, like, look like they've aged more than others. A lot of times that's because of, like, stress. Um so the longer I've worked in this industry, the more I try to treat the person as a whole. But it's hard to get people to like wrap their brains around it. They just want, we live in this like culture that just like, I want to take a pill and I want to feel better. I want to put some Botox in my face and I want to look 20 years younger. And like, we can kind of do that, but like long term, that's not solving your problem, and people
It's
might
hard,
not.
I think, because people sometimes don't I don't want to be mean and say
I
don't want
know.
to take your advice,
I
but
know.
I feel
They
like
don't.
that sometimes. I'm like,
They
okay,
don't.
this is what might be happening. Here's 35 fucking things you could try.
Yeah.
And then I see them next time. No, I haven't tried any of those things. And I get
Oh,
some people just want to relax and they don't
totally.
necessarily want to change everything about their whole
But
life.
most people do want to change in their skin, but they don't want to change their whole life. And I'm like, well, Sally, it's not going to work like that, And like, people don't like that, and it's hard to get it across. to people. It's like, well, you can't just use this one magical serum and like your face is going to get better. Like you need to heal your body, your nervous system, your gut, right? You need to like be aware of like the environment you're in.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think like too with like so much of our body, like if we're in stress, like we're not digesting any minerals, like we're not getting any of the, even if we're eating our salad, like it's not
yeah,
gonna benefit you because you're not like digesting it properly.
exactly. And you're not probably not getting enough sleep or not enough restful sleep. I mean, I've battled with so many of these things myself, and I feel like I still do, and I feel like sometimes it's like I'm doing all of the right things, yet, it's like I haven't lost the weight or my skin doesn't look as good as I want it to, but it's like it takes so much time. And if you've fucked yourself up like I have when I was younger from not sleeping, drinking, partying, doing drugs, like it's going to take a long time to reverse those things. But the amazing and beautiful thing about the human body and our skin is that we can reverse all those things. Like you have the opportunity at any point in your life, at any age. And that's what I think is so cool if you are committed. And again, it doesn't have to be this like 180 life thing. Like I'm not ever eating a piece of bread and I'm never having alcohol again and I'm never partying again or whatever but you can reverse a lot of damage.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, like not until I addressed like emotional stuff that I was dealing with did I see changes in my skin and like my body and
Yeah,
like
same.
pain and things like
Mm,
that too. Like I
yeah.
was in so much pain all the time. And it was, yeah, like you're saying, picking up other people's shit. Like there are physical factors to that, but it's also the energy of like just being
Yes.
open and
Like too open. Yeah,
sucking up
too open.
everyone's energy. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
it's
it was
hard to know that you're doing that.
it's hard, and that takes a certain type of like intuition and awareness if you are an esthetician or a service provider, to keep yourself protected and grounded. Because I literally, like I was saying earlier, had made myself sick off of other people. I remember this one story. I might have shared this on my own podcast before. When I was still in school, I had this girl come in. They do like the like discounted or free facials, like when you're in school and people will come in off the street for like a $10 facial. And I gave this girl a
The best kind
facial,
of
the
clients.
best kind of clients. I gave this girl a facial and I can't remember if she had like finished chemotherapy or she was going through it, but she had cancer. And I remember in the middle of the facial, I literally got like physically ill because I'm like, I'm 18. I wasn't protecting myself. I want to like take care of this girl, but I took on so much of her energy that I literally physically made myself sick where I had to like stop and like get up and leave. And ever since that moment, even though I didn't always protect myself as much as I could, I tried to be aware of that, as simple things like keeping your feet like firmly like planted, like grounded on the floor and like preparing myself before I go in and touch people. But man, like we are like, I can't even talk. We are just like, there's a lot of things we can absorb.
Mhm.
You have to be
Yeah, it's
careful.
very yeah, I think it's very important, like even for anyone in a daily basis, but something to like cleanse yourself. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a whole 30-step thing, but something to like just
Yes.
let go and not like take all that stuff into your house.
Yeah, when I was seeing like a lot of clients regularly, the first thing I would do when I got home is take off all my clothes and do a shower. Not like a full shower, but just like a rinse of water on my body to like cleanse myself, put on fresh clothes, and I feel like that like was really helpful.
Do you ever use like sprays? This is my shit,
Mhm.
the rose water.
Mhm. So now I use like sprays in the treatment room. I use sage. I'm using Palo Santo. I'm doing like all of the things now. I went kind of like from 0 to 100 though. Like I'm like, give me all of the things. And I feel like that's helpful as well.
Do you feel like certain types of clients are kind of I guess deterred from that. Like you feel like you can
Mm,
kind of like curate who's coming to you through just like the vibes, I guess.
100%. 100%.
I think so too.
And that's why I'm very specific about who I bring into my space now. And again, I feel like I'm really lucky because I do own my own business and I don't rely on my clientele to like live off of financially. Like now it's just kind of like a side hustle. So I can really pick and choose who I allow into my space. Because and specifically after COVID, I'm like, I can't go back to what I was doing because I can't allow certain people's energy into the space. Even some of the clients who like I really loved and I really loved like our relationship, it just got to this point where it's like I would tell them the same freaking shit over and over again and they're like not listening but like still like kind of whining and want me to like help them. I'm like you are unhelpable at this point and like I love you and I send you love but I don't want you in this space anymore because it's exhausting to me. And that was really hard to do. Because there's like a part of like you feel guilty because you do like this person or you do want to help them and you do enjoy treating their skin. But when people don't listen for like years on end, at some point you have to make the boundary, especially as an esthetician. Like you can't just be doing it to take their money. To me, that doesn't feel good. It's beyond that.
Yeah, I think it's like I think it's not worth it. Like, of course, when people first starts, like they're just trying to make money. Like, I get
Right.
it. Like, we all have
Totally.
to buy food and whatever, pay our
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
But at a certain point, it's not worth, for me, it's not worth my energy. And I'll
No.
notice like, because I just like, for a while, I stopped doing facials with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
And I was just focusing on doing readings and my energy healing and stuff. And then in January, I started going back and just like very short days, but I'll
Okay.
notice like I'll get a random cancellation. And before that used to really bother me. And now I'm like a kind of perspective shift of like, okay, that person was not the vibe for me. Like maybe they were sick, maybe they were a bitch, like they just weren't for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fine. I'd rather do something else with my time and
Right.
make money some other way.
Isn't that amazing? Just like such like a little like energy shift, like a mindset shift, and like it can change like your whole world. And I
Yeah,
think,
because I used to really like upset in me and
yeah,
like especially like, there's all this setup. You go there, you get it. It's like you can't just
you're like, I
walk
cleansed my
in.
room and I did
I'm
all
like,
this
I
stuff in the
fucking spent
steamer.
30 minutes doing this extra
Yeah.
stuff for you not to show up. And that used to like, I feel like emotionally be like, they fucking hate
Mm.
me specifically, even though they don't even
Oh,
know it's me that I just doing their facial. It's like, it's so easy to take that on of
of
like, it's
course.
me
And
and
it's
not just
not
like,
you.
it has nothing to do with you.
No, or maybe like you said, like maybe it does have to do with you, but there's
It's a good
something,
thing.
yes, it's protecting you, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, but mindset shift for sure when it comes to like no shows, late cancellations. It's like that was not meant to me. And if you're like so worried about the money and you're like grabbing at the money, like that's no way to have like a relationship with money because that's like not letting the energy flow.
Yeah, and I think like it can be difficult for some kinds of people to have a job that's so flexible of
Yeah.
like, oh, I can, some days it's like this, some days it's not like that. And then it's blah, blah, blah. Like for me, that feels great because I'm like,
Same.
it's different. Like I
Yeah.
maybe tomorrow I have more extra time to do this thing that I wanted to do. But I think it can be very scary to do something that isn't the same all the time.
Right. I think it definitely, again, it attracts a certain type of person. Either there's a type of person who needs structure, and this is probably definitely not the job for you, or you need to go work for like a big corporate spa that's like very like 9 to 5, very specific. Um, or this is attracting someone like you and I who like the freedom, the flexibility. One day we have a bunch of clients, the next day we have like one, but that means we can do other cool, fun projects that are either for work or for ourselves. And I think that's like a beautiful thing.
I do too. So what do you, for the podcast, like what is your favorite part of doing it?
I think, you know, creating content for so many years, specifically on Instagram. I've switched over to TikTok a little bit. I feel
I
like
gotta
it's like
follow you on TikTok.
it's the same stuff though, kind of like as in Instagram.
But
But
I'll
you can
probably see it more on
you probably
TikTok
will.
because
So
I'm a
follow me on
TikTok
TikTok.
person.
It's Glow Skincare Lay.
We'll
I'm
put
also
all
on.
your info in the show notes so people can
Okay.
find you.
Side note, just to tell anyone who is a content creator listening or thinking about being a content creator, if you're making reels on Instagram, save them and post them to TikTok, post them to Pinterest, and post them to YouTube Shorts. Okay. That's just my tip for you. But
The
anyhow,
YouTube Shorts, I'm having trouble with it
why?
because I'm like, as someone who consumes, I'm like, that would annoy me if I'm like, oh, a new video from my favorite content person, and it's just a 5-second clip. And I've started putting shorts out, and I'm like, do people hate this? And
I don't know.
I don't know.
I give it zero thought or energy, if I'm being completely honest. Sometimes I'll check on there and be like, wow, that video had like 3,000 views, and I put no energy into it. Maybe I should think a little bit about it, but
No, but I think it's good, like just a reminder for people, like you don't have to create brand new things for everything.
Definitely not.
Like that's unnecessary.
It's crazy. That's crazy. And I already put out like a lot of content. And also, Pinterest, for me at least, has like really been where it's at, and I'm just posting the same content as Instagram, and I've literally gone from like 7,000 views a month to 700,000 views a month in just a couple
Pinterest is
months.
like having a revival.
Yeah,
It's really
it is.
interesting.
It really
I
is.
should
I
start
love
posting
Pinterest.
my things. I love visual.
Me
I think
too.
that's what's hard about like, because I love doing videos and I'll talk for the ever, but like
Same.
I don't know. It's just not the same on Instagram, like
Yes.
the videos. Like I feel like
No,
people don't care.
no, they don't. That's why we like TikTok.
Yeah.
And to come full circle while you're asking me about the podcast, that's why I like the podcast, because I feel like there's so many things that I want to expand on, but I don't really feel like I have enough time on Instagram, nor do people care enough on Instagram. But if you do care enough, go to the podcast, because that's where like I can kind of like show even more of my personality, and I can expand more on certain subjects, because like you, like I also like to talk, and for some reason people like to listen.
You have a nice voice.
Thank you.
What? But like, what is your least favorite thing to do about it?
With the podcast? Sometimes it's funny that you asked that, because I've been like a little, like there was like a couple weeks where I'm like, do I want to be doing this? Like I do the podcast with Haley, who is basically my right-hand woman. She's also my sister. So she helps me run the business. And she's also my podcast host. And she's also a new mom. She's got Clark. He's like almost 6 months. And that's like been such a fun journey for not only her, but for me to go on. But now he's like at this age where like he's not just like a mushy baby. He's turning into like a real like
He makes sounds and
human
moves around.
Right. He's not just like sleeping or breastfeeding 24/7. And so that started to become really challenging, finding a time for us to like podcast and to like work together. And I feel like with that distraction, like I wasn't like in a creative space. I'm like, do I want to be doing this? Is this like, I feel like I have nothing to talk about this week. But I think that's just like life. Like we go through ebbs and flows, like where we're feeling really inspired and we have all these things. And there's like a little like dip where we don't feel like we have as much to talk about. But I like to be consistent with the podcast and like show up every week. But sometimes that means I'm showing up like feeling like shit or sounding like shit, or like I'm going through something, which I have been like the past couple months. Like I feel like I got in a car accident, like had a spiritual awakening, like got sick. Now I'm sick again. But I'm in a better place now. And
Yeah.
it's like, like, do I want to do this? Is it worth it to push through? It's kind of that like internal like battle that can be challenging sometimes to show up when I'm not my best.
I think that it's, at least as like a listener,
Uh-huh.
I appreciate that. Like,
Okay.
I rather people be real and genuine and like this what's going on with me, and like then it be this bubbly like, let me tell you
Hi.
a lot, like
Yeah.
there's a million of those, we don't need another
Yeah.
one.
For
So I
reals.
think it's important, like, and I think for you, like with talking more about like wellness and your
Yeah.
own healing and stuff, like I think that's interesting, and I think that listeners, at least in my opinion, appreciate that, like want to know, okay, we can learn about a specific topic that you're going to talk about, but we really just want to hear how you're feeling.
Story.
Yeah.
Right. It's just the story. It doesn't have to be all rainbows and butterflies. Um, and that's kind of what I'm realizing. I guess, and thank you for your feedback, because I guess I'm like, well, how much do I share? How much do people really want to hear? How much is me just like rambling, right? So I've been in this like crossroads. Like, do I really start to get into some of this shit about myself and my
I think you should.
struggles? I feel like I should too. I think it's just really scary to
Yeah.
like put it all out there on table, because like it is not cute, but like I am so proud of myself from like where I've come to where I am at now. So
When I
maybe,
think people look, like they might look to you as for inspiration on
yeah,
specifically aesthetics,
right.
but it's not just that. It's like you've created this life for yourself, like you said earlier, like it took you a lot of hard work to get there, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same as it was before. Just try.
Yes. I mean, you're inspiring me right now. You're giving me like a little bit of chills, because it's something that I really have like been like sitting on, and I'm like, okay, like am I gonna am I gonna do this? And I think it's like it's getting close to that time. It's getting close to that time.
Well,
And
we're about to go into a new year, so that
yeah,
might
it's kind
be
of
a good
perfect, right?
opportunity.
Right? But yeah, and it's like I think part of me is like, afraid that it's not relatable, or it's like, well, this isn't just like a skin podcast, but I'm like, it doesn't have to be, you know? And I also don't want it to be like the Casey show, because that's not really what it's about, but it's hopefully that like I can share my struggle, my journey, and hopefully it can help somebody else.
I think that is like a good direction. And I
Yeah.
feel like the fact that you guys talk about like lifestyle wellness, it's like that doesn't have to only be for the people that have already listened who are skincare people, estheticians.
Right.
Like it could be so many different types of people
I
could be
know.
interested into
I
that
know.
thing.
And like you said in the beginning, it's like we work in the freaking health and wellness industry, yet we are not health and wellnessing ourselves.
I
It's got to
think,
change.
yeah, I think it would be interesting.
I think it'd be interesting too. And again, like I hope maybe me sharing my story more, like more in depth, would help encourage people to take, and specifically estheticians, to take better care of themselves, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's like something that for me, last maybe 3 or 4 years has been like, that's the key thing, like to take care of my body, to understand my body. Like
To understand, I love that you use that word, to understand.
I didn't know shit about
Same.
anything until I went to
Same.
aesthetic school. They're like, these are muscles. I'm like, never heard of those. I just was not a good in school. I didn't care. I was into like art and like smoking weed. Like I just was not
I got it. I got
paying
it. Like
attention.
school? What school?
But now it's like so interesting. And
Yeah.
I feel like it sparked such a deep dive. Like I'm like, oh, let me learn
Mhm.
about like the brain and like the nerves and like it's I'm like, oh, I'm a scientist. Like
You
I
are.
didn't think this was interesting, but now
It
I do.
wasn't at the time, but you had to be drawn to it and like be ready for it on your own. And I think that's just like life in general, right? I think traditional school, they like force so many things down your throat in such a like boring way.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I'm like, this stuff is actually super cool and interesting, but you have to be ready to hear it.
Yeah. Do you feel like with the reflexology stuff, do you feel like there's a little bit more education that goes into that, like as far as like the clients go?
Yeah, you mean like
Like explaining like why we're doing this?
yeah, yeah. And again, I think you feel out your client. Some clients don't give a shit.
Or
They're
like
like,
just do it.
this just feels great, and my neck doesn't hurt anymore, and I don't have migraines anymore, and like you just flushed out my system. I gotta go pee. And then there's other people who are like, tell me everything. And then there's those people that are in between. Like I even think about like my mom, and my mom, it's like if I'm just like, "Here, mom, like, go do this," she's like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever." But if she's seen me talk about it enough on Instagram, she's like, "Can I have one of those?" And then she's like, started doing she's like, "Well, this feels good, and I like doing this, and I'm, like, feeling a little better." So I feel like that's where a lot of people are kind of, like, self exploring, and again, that's just like you have to feel out people. So I don't bombard them with information. I give them a little bit and see where they go with it.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that I'm continuing to learn
Mm.
because I'm like, okay, like I want to know like what the heck you're doing, but people are probably like, shut the fuck up. I'm just trying to relax. So it's
Yeah.
learning that fine line of like, okay, I'm making you aware. So you're kind of like understanding, but I don't want to like disrupt this whole thing by just talking all the
Right.
time.
And I think that's really important when it comes to being an esthetician or any type of service provider is like really like feeling that out and learning and like reading people, which takes time and it's hard. And I see so many estheticians that are like blah, 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 blah. And they spit out 20 different like big words of like fancy ingredients. And the client's just like I don't even know what you said. And it goes in one ear and out the other. They don't absorb anything. So again, like I like it like clean, simple, like less is more. Unless somebody asks, then I'll expand, but I'll even pay attention when I'm talking to them. Like if I'm expanding and they're like looking somewhere else, then I'm like, they're not listening. Like, here's your cold roller. Have a good day.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah, call me another time. Listen to Instagram. Maybe you'll be interested then.
Yeah, yeah. I think sometimes it's like how you package things too.
It's for sure how you package it.
Like I feel like I'm like, okay, I don't want to be like saying the same sentence all the time, but I feel like that is the way that it helps them understand. So I'm like, I don't want to be a robot, but I also feel like simplifying some
Yeah.
things.
I think simplifying and I think having like your go-to like phrases that just like make sense to people is helpful for you and for your clients. Like I even think about the way like I explain like a hydrodermabrasion, it's like it's lightly exfoliating and it's like sucking up the dead dry skin while like gently like hydrating, but just leave it at that and then I don't go into like a 10-minute, science experiment.
I know. It's so I want to though.
Right. Me too.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed
Of
talking with you.
course. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Um, I want to ask you one last little question
Yeah,
before we close out. And then again, for everyone listening, I'll put all Kasey's like info and stuff in the show notes if you want to find her Instagram or you can check out the podcast and all that stuff, TikTok.
cool.
Um, but like, so you were saying you're like getting into this kind of like spiritual expansion. I know
Yeah,
we did a healing session.
we
Was it last
did.
year?
Yeah, that was last year.
But I'm just curious, like for you, like what has been the most exciting about that to you?
What has been the most exciting?
I know it can be like not as fun. It
It's
can be
been
emotional.
it's been up and down. You caught me in a good place right now where I feel like I've really like tapped into this like whole new like intuition and like level of myself. Wait, ask me the question again so I can really
So in like let me see if I can get it right. Basically, like with the spiritual
Yeah.
expansion stuff that you're talking about, like
Yeah.
getting into more the meditation and breath work and like
Uh-huh.
all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
What has been the most exciting or like
Most exciting.
powerful for you?
That like that there's really no limits or rules to what you can do, and that like you can be your biggest cheerleader, but you could also be your worst enemy. And that might sound basic and it might sound cliche. And I don't know, like you think, oh, like doing these little like practices, like what is this going to do? And lots of times it's like, well, I'm going to sit here for this 7-minute meditation, but like nothing's happening. And then, for example, like yesterday, I'm driving in the car and I have this like the spiritual experience between like the sun coming through and the music. And it's like you just get these signs and you're like, okay, this is what I've been like working on. And it's like, what's next? And you become, I feel like it's like you start to become like this like magnet of like energy. And it's like you can create anything and do anything that you want. And that feels the most exciting to me. And the fact that like I've done a lot in my life and my career that I'm really proud of up until this point when I feel like I was like half blacked out. Do you know what I mean? Where like I wasn't awake. And now I'm awake and I'm like, holy shit, if I've already done this much, like,
Let's
girl, we're just
accomplish
getting
more.
started. We're just getting started. And it can happen at any time, any point in your life. Doesn't matter age, right? Doesn't matter if you're married, if you have kids, it can happen. And that's what feels super exciting to me.
I love that. Yeah, and I feel like now it's like to experience life inside your
Yes.
body instead of just
Yes.
like a floating brain.
Yes.
It's like a whole different experience. I
It
I
really
feel
is.
like anything could be spiritual.
It can.
It's just a perspective.
It's all perspective, right? And we've like put these things in our head, or society puts these things in our head. And it's really not as complicated as a lot of us make it out to be. But it's so special and powerful.
Yeah, I agree. It's 444.
Okay.
Numbers. Well, thank you, Kasey. And then yeah, we'll put all your info out
Amazing.
there and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.